Hi everybody, my name is Andy Schneider and I'm a musician and country songwriter here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I thought it'd be interesting to do a video series that kind of progresses through the development of a single track from inception, from scratch, all the way through the mastered final copy. I'm a country songwriter that moved here because I was working with other country songwriters doing co-writes. And that was a great situation. When I'm not writing for other people, I'm writing my own material. Generally, I write it 100% myself. Lots of country hits that you hear have lots and lots of co-writers. At least two is the norm, and these days it's not unusual to see 3 and 4. But I do things myself. I'm also my own producer and engineer. And I've got a good bit of experience doing that, and I've run music studios in the past. And so I'm going to be working on a new batch of songs. And the song that I'm currently working on, I kind of have an idea of how it's going to go, but it's certainly not fully developed. And I thought it'd be kind of interesting to take a look at that process. For those of you that don't spend your lives hanging around songwriters or in studios, it's kind of interesting, I think, what happens. And there's lots of different methods. I'm just going to show you mine. The interesting part about creating a song is kind of, to me, is where you start. Because there are so many places that you can start, and I've heard people talk about every different method. In country songwriting, lots of times, a couple of writers get together, and somebody's got an idea for the hook. That's usually how it starts. That's a good place to start for that type of material. To start with a hook, and then develop the chorus, and then write some verses to explain why you're singing the chorus. If the hook is "Life is like pizza," then you need some verses to explain why you keep singing "Life is like pizza, life is like pizza." Well, maybe it's whatever. It's stringy and messy, but it's delicious. I don't know. That's probably a real song somewhere. I don't know. You can have that one. Anyway, I'm going to be working on a couple of new songs. So I've got one song in mind that I think is going to be pretty interesting. And I've got just kind of the bare bones, like a sketch of how it might go. Now, the other thing, and I'm going to show you that this video series is going to cover like songwriting. It's also going to cover engineering and probably some pretty cool studio tips that I really like to share. I don't like to keep secrets. I like to tell people stuff so that you can go make great recordings yourself. And as you can see, I don't have a big fancy studio. This is my laundry room, and I've many times throughout my life I've had to kind of patch together a real world place to do some recording because of budgetary reasons or whatever, and you can turn out really great results on a really low budget just with some pretty good equipment that you can get for your house anymore. So I thought I'd show you what's going on right now. I've kind of got an idea for a hook, and generally somewhere around that time I like to throw in like the guitar riff or whatever the instrumental idea is that's going on behind. My music tends to be sort of more rhythmically oriented, and so the riff or the hook that's going on behind the lyric is really important too. In other types of music, in a lot of country music, that's not so important. It's kind of like we'll get to those fill parts later. But in my music, I like to have a really killer guitar picking riff going on somewhere. And in the pop world, which I kind of consider myself being in as well, I'm in both country and the pop world. But in the pop world, it's pretty frequent that a writer, such as myself, will walk into a room and meet the producer, and the producer will say, "Great to meet you. Here's the 2-track, or here's the produced song." And then your job as writer is to make some words go into that thing. Well, that's cool, but it's one type of writing a song, and in doing so, you got to come up with some words that sort of fit that groove. In the country world, it tends to go the other way around, where the producer comes in and the writers have the song done, and then it's the producer's job to make the sounds fit the vibe of the song, of the lyrics, and of their tone. So I like to kind of operate in both worlds. I like to shake it up, and sometimes I'll just sit with a pad of paper and get it done and have everything worked out, all mapped out, chords, lyrics, and everything. And other times I like to start with sort of the sounds. So this is kind of a hybrid operation, and I wanted to show you how I start writing a song, or at least how I am writing this song. So this is my workstation, my audio workstation. I use Ableton Live. It's a great program that, like many digital audio workstations, emulates, those big mixing boards that you used to see, of course, in music videos. You still do see. So the idea there is that every microphone gets recorded on a separate track of a piece of tape, back in the old days, and then on each fader you can control the volume. Now, I know anybody with GarageBand knows this, but some people don't. So I wanted to show you what I've tracked so far. It looks like a lot, but this is really just sort of template that I use. And what I've got so far is I've got a little bit of a guitar hook going on, and it is right back here. So I am going to play for you a little bit of guitar hook. Let's make sure we can hear everything. So that's coming from this track right here. All right. There we go. All right. Kind of a funky old Moog sort of keyboard sound going on there. So what I'm going to do with this is it just kind of has a vibe going already, even though there's three instruments. There's guitar, a snare drum, played with brushes, and that funky sort of key thing. So already that's coloring the decisions I'm going to be making as a songwriter. So the next step for me is going to be to sit down, put pen to paper, flesh out these lyrics, and do a scratch vocal. That's kind of how I like to do it. And I wanted to show you too, one of the cool things about Live, and this is why it's so great to use. I use Live all the way from writing a song where I'm at now, through mixing, through the master step, which is where you put it all together and kind of put the polish rag to it. But I wanted to show you this because this is really quite a cool thing. I'm going to solo out this guitar track. Okay, so the cool thing about Live is that I can take this track. There it is. That's what the waveform looks like, right? And if I say to myself like, there's my melody. It's a little low. Yeah, I should have played it a couple frets higher on the neck, right? Yeah. So automatically here I'm able to transpose things up. Let's go a little bit more. Sounds a little funny. That's just kind of a digital artifact. And I wouldn't include this in my final recording. None of what I'm doing right now is for the final recording. But I like to kind of draft it out in the same way that in the movies they create storyboards. First you create the screenplay, and then from that you create the storyboards, and from that you actually go take the shots in the real world. So this is kind of like what I'm doing as far as those development steps. I'll put the pitch back where it belongs here, And up here in the corner, I've got the tempo mapped out where I think it belongs, 112 beats per minute. So I'm going to take that now and bump it up a little bit. Not too bad. Sounds almost like I actually played it that fast. Can we go faster? Kind of like it that fast. So Live is a great tool for writing because you can very, very quickly change the key, you can change the tempo, and those are sort of the things that you need when you're trying to mumble out a sort of melody. So really useful tool. Once I settle in on the key and the tempo, I'll put everything back, start recording the finals. But the next step for me is get my lyrics done, then record a scratch vocal and see where it goes from there, and then start filling in the other little bits. It's kind of a circular process. So that does it for me. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to check out some really great audio gear in the meantime, please go to my sponsor, screaminfx.com. Screamin FX. Fantastic stuff. I'm going to get into those pedals that I use, guitar pedals, in the next couple of episodes. So hope you're well. Catch you soon. Bye. You got to know, I want you so, so, so.